Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In this tutorial, we're going to look and see what it would take to split a clip and then extend both the left side and the right side over each other so that we create a crossfade. Now, with a single event, this really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you had, say, multiple takes on the events and you were wanting to switch to a different take at this position, then it would make perfect sense to go ahead and split it, create the overlap, and then you could switch to a different take on the second event. So let's see how we would do this. First of all, let's take a look at Vegas and see roughly what we're duplicating. Here in Vegas, you can see I have one event on the timeline. What we're wanting to do is essentially do a split at the cursor location like this, and then at the cursor location it would be like clicking on the slash on the numeric keypad. You would hit slash, and now we have a 1 second crossfade. And so we want to duplicate that in code. Here's the code we're going to look at. This would be actually a little bit more flexible in that we could set the crossfade length to any distance we wanted. But first of all, we're going to get the time code for the split position, which comes from myvegas.transport.cursorPosition. Then I created a new time code called crossfade distance, which we got from timecode.fromSeconds1. Naturally, you could define this however you wanted to be, whatever length of a crossfade you wanted. Now let's go for each track, my track in myvegas.project.tracks, then for each track event in my track.events. Then if that event is selected, then I want to work on that event. Now there are some checkings that should be done that I'm not doing here. We'll get to that in just a minute. But if the event.start is less than the split position and the event.end is greater than the split position, then I know that this event is under the cursor. If it's not under the cursor, we don't need to do anything because we're not doing anything with that. Track event, right event, we're going to split event. So event.split, and where are we going to split it? We're going to split it at split position minus the event start. Remember, we want to be the distance inside that clip. So we want to get the actual position inside that event, not the position we are on the timeline. Now I'm going to cut the crossfade in half because I want half of it from the first event and half of it from the second event. So the half crossfade, which is a double, I'm getting from crossfade distance dot 2 milliseconds, and then I'm dividing that by 2. So the left event is very simple. Just take event.length equals event.length plus timecode.from milliseconds and the half crossfade. Adjusting the right side is much more difficult. We want to move it left the crossfade distance, the half crossfade distance. So right event.start equals right event.start minus from milliseconds half crossfade. Now because we moved it left, now we need to extend the length of it to make up the difference so that it ends at the same place. So right event.length equals right event.length plus timecode.from milliseconds half crossfade. But that event is now not starting in the correct place. We've just scooted it left. So now we have to change the start place on that right event. So we do the right event.activeTake.offset equals the right event.activeTake.offset, and then we're going to subtract timecode.from milliseconds half crossfade. So basically we're saying, okay, you're starting a half a second earlier than you did before. And we've moved you a half a second left, and then we've extended you a half a second in length. Now, this is very important. We have event.selected equals false, and right event.selected equals false. Otherwise, these events are going to be processed again because they're still selected and they're still under the cursor position. So we do have to do this. Now, the possible ability of an error that I was alluding to earlier was that for example, when we set this offset here, what if we were inside half a second to the end of the event? So realistically, we should check in here to see, do we have enough space to create this crossfade? This one isn't checking that. If you were writing it for distribution or whatever, you would probably want to go ahead and add that in there. So let's run this. So here we have a spot, the event selected. And now our left event and our right event have this crossfade here, and you can see that these events are still grouped. So if I ungroup this, you can see that I can now move this and we will change the crossfade distance. But more importantly, you can see as I step through crossfading from one to the other, we are both in time with each other. So with this code, we can take an event and split it and then create a crossfade between the left and right events, and both events will still be in sync with each other, and actually they'll still be grouped together too. So you'd actually have to ungroup them if you needed to do something with one or the other. But if you had multiple takes in these, then this would be an easy way to, say, switch to a different camera or switch to B-roll or whatever your additional takes might be at that location, and you could just do this multiple times and just switch back and forth between the multiple takes. So I hope you find this tutorial useful. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in a future tutorial.